We're continuing trumpets number 5 and going on to number 6. All right? And last week we were studying about the Bible that was hidden by the forefathers in Syria, and it was being attacked by the enemies of those who actually was hiding it and preserving it in Syria. And God actually used the Muslims to preserve the text there. All right. Okay. And the school that was in Syria is actually called which school was that? Antioch. The school of Antioch. And one of the leaders there his name is Lucian. Yeah. His name is Lucian, and he is the one that is thought to continue the tradition of the literal understanding of the Bible. All right? Okay. And Ellen White says that this literal understanding of the Bible, as compared to the allegorical style of study, all right, is in keeping with William Miller's way of studying. All right? And William Miller has 14 rules, and Ellen White essentially endorses these rules. She says it in, okay, let me see. She says it in Review and Herald, November 25, 1884, that these rules are: we should do well when we heed the principles set forth in the rules that is used by William Miller. All right? Okay. Basically saying that we should not be using exegesis and hermeneutics. We should be using the proof text method of Bible study. And unfortunately, this proof text method of Bible study is no longer taught, and is thought to be the wrong way, and is for babies or people who are just learning, and is not for the learned, and should not be used anymore. As a matter of fact, those who are learned, turns out, are the ones that are becoming so confused because everybody's interpretation becomes different. All right? And one of the ways we actually do proof texting is when we use Bible ways of understanding by 2 or 3 witnesses. All right? Line upon line, meaning reform lines will line up. So the reform lines of Noah, the reform lines of John the Baptist, reform lines of William Miller, reform lines of Martin Luther, all line up with our lines. All right? And the end, God establishes the end from the beginning, right? And the testimony of 2. All right. Anyway, this is where we ended last week. All right, we will continue. All right. We're still just going to finish off with the part of the Bible. From B.G. Wilkinson's book, Truth Triumphant. The Protestant denominations are built upon manuscripts of the Greek New Testament, sometimes called the Textus Receptus. Textus Receptus is called the received text. And it is generally ascribed that this Textus Receptus is the one that Erasmus actually wrote. Now, you heard of Erasmus? Erasmus is actually a Dutch, I guess a Dutch teacher, and a Dutch scholar, and he decided that he did not want to use the Vulgate anymore, and he wanted to translate the New Testament. So what he did was he translated the New Testament into the Latin and the Greek, right? And the Latin part that he translated, he used old Greek manuscripts that he got from Lucian in the old Syrian Antioch school, right? So that's what he did. And this is actually the first New Testament that was published and printed, all right? Okay. But the thing about it is actually not the real true first Bible that was printed. The first true Bible that was printed is actually the Gutenberg Bible. The problem is that Gutenberg Bible is actually based on the Vulgate, right? And there was another Bible that was also translated into Latin and Greek, but it was not published until afterwards. So the first true Bible that was translated in the true understanding, was actually by Erasmus. Okay. And what happened was, when he translated it, his publisher then decided to call it. They decided to call it Textus Receptus. So Textus Receptus is not actually the Bibles that was written by Lucian way back in the year 400, 500, 600. No, Textus Receptus was somebody calling the Bible of Erasmus Textus Receptus. So now everybody started calling all the Bibles Textus Receptus, meaning a received text. Okay, it's actually a given name. All right. Okay, so it's a truthfully, you really can't say that the books that was written by Lucian in the old days was actually Textus Receptus, but it's called also the Byzantine text. It's also called the majority text. And from all of this, eventually, from the Bible, Erasmus compiled and translated the New Testament. And from that Bible was the Bible that Martin Luther studied, and he started the Reformation. I think within a few months, within 1 year, he started the Reformation based on studying that Bible. Okay. All right. Well, Lucian and his school gathered and edited a definitive and complete Bible. All right. It was a collection of books from Genesis to Revelation. Well-known writers like Jerome, Erasmus, and Luther in the 19th century, John William Burgon, Fenton, John Anthony Hort, whether friends or opponents, agree that Lucian was the editor who passed on the world the received text, right? It was actually the books the Bible that he actually edited was eventually the ones that became Erasmus Bible and eventually became the King James Bible, all right? The New Testament, which was adopted at the birth of all the great churches of the Reformation, not a single church born of the Reformation, Lutheran, Calvinistic, Anglican, Baptist, Presbyterian, Methodist, Congregational, or Adventist, adopted any other Bible than those whose New Testament came down from Lucian. All those Protestant churches used the Bible that came from Lucian, basically, and was translated by Erasmus. So Erasmus was very, very influential, all right, for the Reformation. Okay. Now I got this. These are widely available. This is from the internet. This is a copy of the picture of that Bible. On the right-hand side is in Latin, and the left-hand side is Greek, right? So it is called a diglot. What is a diglot? Di means two, glot is tongue. Right, so they're polyglot. But this is actually not the first Bible that was written in this way. There was another Bible called a polyglot. Polyglot, it had, I think it had a Hebrew, a Greek, and a Latin. but it was not published before this Bible. And besides, that Bible was still using the old versions, which was corrupted. Right? And this is Erasmus of Rotterdam. Okay. Prior to the 20th century, all English Bibles since Tyndale's first New Testament were based on the Textus Receptus. Right? This includes all these Bibles: Miles, Coverdale, Matthews, Great Bible, Geneva Version, Bishop's Bible, and the King James Version, which is 1611. All right. Okay. But one thing, I think this is one of the quotes of Erasmus. But one thing the facts cry out, and it can be clear, as they say, even to a blind man, that often through the translator's clumsiness or inattention, the Greek has been wrongly rendered. Often the true and genuine reading has been corrupted by ignorant scribes, which we see happen every day, and altered by scribes who are half taught and half asleep. Wow, he says it's not even worth studying, he says, because it's so corrupt. The Vulgate was so corrupt. So that's why they had to get a new version of it. So the Erasmus Bible is the Bible that was the basis for all the Bibles of the Protestant churches, specifically the King James Version eventually. Now there's 5 versions. He revised it 4 times. So there's 5 versions. There's 5 versions of it, okay? Okay. Have you heard of the Comma Johanneum? You heard of Comma Johanneum. This is very, very famous. In his first 2 versions of the Bible, he did not include the Comma Johanneum. We'll go over through this. Only in the 3rd version did he include the Comma Johanneum. All right? Comma Johanneum. Now, the King James Version was actually based on the 3rd revision of his Bible, not the 1st and the 2nd. Now, the 1st and the 2nd did not include Comma Johanneum. Okay, you say, what is Comma Johanneum? All right, Comma Johanneum is this part. Okay, this is in the King James Bible. Right, this was basically comes from Erasmus Bible, the 3rd version of the Erasmus Bible, because the 1st and 2nd did not include this. The 3rd version. When you read 1 John 5, verse 7 and 8, for there are 3 that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost, and these 3 are one. And there are 3 that bear witness on earth, the Spirit, the water, and the blood, and these 3 agree in one. Now these verses is basically used for the Trinitarian. Right. Now this is actually in King James Version, because King James Version is actually based on Erasmus Bible, but it was the 3rd version of the Erasmus Bible. All right? Okay, so what happened? This part in yellow here is the Comma Johanneum. This part, the last part of the 7th verse and the first part of the 8th verse is actually added to the Bible. And then when you actually read the earlier versions of the Vulgate is a Catholic version of the Bible. It does not even include this Comma Johanneum. Right? So what happened is these new Bibles that comes in afterwards, they say, when we go and look at the Greek manuscripts before the 14th century, it does not include the Comma Johanneum. So that why now we do not want to include it. So when you go to the NIV Bible, this is the NIV Bible. For there are 3 that testify, the Spirit, the water, and the blood, and the 3 are in agreement. Actually, the NIV Bible does not include this Comma Johanneum here, because they even realized this is actually an addition. This was not part of the Bible. Somebody actually added this, and it got slipped into the King James Version. All right. This is called the Comma Johanneum.
I read somewhere he was threatened.
Yeah, actually. Right. Yeah. Somebody actually, it is said that he was pressured to actually include this into his third revision because he was at that time he was Catholic. Yeah. And he was told to include this. So when somebody asks you, how do you explain 1 John 5, 7, and 8? There's three in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. Wow, now you know that actually that is actually added, and it is not part of the original manuscripts of the Bible. So when you actually see the RV, the NIV, that basically they translated using the originals, the originals,
So
right?
you got something right.
Yeah.
Because all the mistakes that you make and
Yeah.
the rest of it.
So the thing about it is that you have to intellectually understand this, So even though you actually read it, you realize that the part in between in heaven and in earth, just remember that. Between in heaven and in earth, that's actually all added. All right? Okay, that's just a side note. Because it's something that somebody is going to ask you, how do you reconcile when Jesus was baptized? There was the Father, and there's the Holy Ghost, and there's Jesus. How do you reconcile 1 John 5, 7, and 8? Now you know how to reconcile 1 John 5, 7, and 8, because it's actually the comma Jehonium. All right, comma means short clause. Jehonium means pertaining to John. Right? Okay, so somebody actually added it in the 14th century sometime.
So if you really want to see the original one, is there a way to see?
How to find the original one?
Yeah, you actually have to look at Erasmus' first two Bibles, or you actually have to go all the way. But the problem is that you don't understand Greek or Latin. Yeah. So for those who actually studied it, they found out, it's not even included in the before the 14th century. So even the Catholic Bibles now, they take it out. Those that are based on the Catholic Bible they actually take it out because they even realize, it's not even included. So, all right.
But yet the Revised Version will take out the part in John 3:16. They take out the word begotten.
Yeah. So when you actually look at it, the RV actually comes down from the line of the Catholic Bible actually. Yeah, but it's been revised a lot. Right.
So where's the original one? You didn't put?
No, you can read it. You don't want to understand it. It's in Latin.
And there's no any translation?
When you translate it, somebody translates it. So then Erasmus actually translated into Latin. But then from Latin to the English Bible, that's King James Version. But the King James Version still has it.
Yeah, because
King James Version still has it.
King James is
Yeah.
read it directly.
Yeah.
Which
So
the readers who are sound quarterly will come to that. Wonder if they'll catch it.
oh yeah. Wow. Well, we'll find out.
That's pertinent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone was asking Rob about this on the phone.
Yeah, we have somebody who actually asked about this specifically, and I just happened to already just study this, so I just said it and go, "Whoa, you know that?" Oh well.
So he's trying to share about father and son,
Okay.
but then he asked about this verse.
Right. So because somebody will ask you about this verse, so you do have to know what comma Jehonium is. Yeah. Most people don't know it. Yeah.
So what is basically the real one saying? Is on the NIV?
The NIV and the RV actually has pretty much the original. This is the original Bible. Is this? All right. These two. But the King James Version. So when you say, well, the King James Version is has everything that's completely true. That's the true Bible. No, there's a lot of things that you have to realize. There are things that are actually supplied there, and you have to know. So you have to also know intellectually which ones to be careful and not. Yeah, but now you know.
What
Yeah.
other things are there anything that is like that in the rest of the
King
Bible?
James?
Yeah, like daily sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Sacrifice is added.
But in the Bible, they won't keep that italicized.
Yeah, this is not. Somebody did not italicize this.
It's just a mistranslation.
Yeah. So no, somebody actually deliberately put that in.
Oh, yeah, supplied it there.
So
Yeah.
they are in the father-son movement reconciled with this. I want
Well,
to
yeah, we know.
know. No, I never hear the sermon.
We know it's people know that it is actually added. It's actually added. It's not part of the Bible.
Agreed.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the scholars agree. Even the Catholic scholars agree.
I feel like the KJV version wasn't made specifically for the Catholics. It was made for
No, it's for the Protestants.
Protestants.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
has those elements in there.
Yeah. Some of the things actually got slipped by, and it is
They
you know.
use the third version of Erasmus' Bible.
Because they use the third version of them. When you see the first and the second, you realize that Erasmus did not have it there.
So they missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just missed it.
Maybe she learned.
It's all Greek to me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's probably the translator was in there.
Yeah. So what does Ellen White say in the Great Controversy 245? While Luther was opening a closed Bible to the people of Germany, Tyndale was impelled by the Spirit of God to do the same for England. So Tyndale in England, Luther in Germany. Wycliffe's Bible had been translated from a Latin text which contained many errors. It had never been printed, and the cost of manuscript copies was so great that a few but wealthy men or nobles could procure it. And furthermore, being strictly proscribed by the church, it had a comparatively narrow circulation. In 1516, a year before the appearance of Luther's thesis, right? So 1517 was Luther's thesis. Right. On 1516, Erasmus published his Greek and Latin version of the New Testament. Now, for the first time, the Word of God was printed in the original tongue. All right. Right. From here, it led many of the educated classes to a better knowledge of the truth and gave a new impetus to the work of reform. A new impetus, it was more power now. More power to the Reformation. This Bible, the Erasmus Bible.
And so this was the part of the Enlightenment where people from Greece were traveling and bringing these texts.
Right. But you have to make sure that it does not come from the Alexandrian. Right. Yeah. It has to come from the Antioch school, which is the Byzantine text and the majority text is called. Yeah. And
And
it's
the sheer volume of received texts compared to the Alexandrian text.
mhm. Yeah, it's remarkable. There's so much more.
Yeah.
Right. And they pretty much agree with each other. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much about the Bible. All right. Now we will.
How do you explain that to other people though? If they're just like, they use that text, in favor of the Trinity.
So you have to say, you have to realize that you have to discard everything that's between in heaven and in earth. Yeah, that's actually needs to be discarded.
The history of
Right. Yeah, you have to give a history of that text. So you actually understand that actually you cannot use that in support of your belief. Right? Okay. So now we're going to go to the first woe now. Oh, that took a long time.
Yes.
Right? Because it was remember, it's the fifth trumpet. But the fifth trumpet goes on for a long time before the first woe starts. All right? Because the first woe is not the fifth trumpet. The fifth trumpet is the first woe is because of the fifth trumpet. Okay. All right, so now we go to the first woe. And to them it was given that they should not kill them. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. All right. So the locusts are not to kill them. Who are them? But they should be tormented for 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. All right. So, what is this 5 months? I put it in blue there. 5 months.
150 days.
150 years, right? So 5 months times 30 is 150 days, and 1 day is 1 year. So it's 5 months is 150 years. So during that 5 months, the locusts, the locusts will, and the scorpions will torment and hurt, but not kill. Right? Right, that's a big thing to understand. For 150 years, they are going to still be a nuisance, but not kill. It's going to torment and hurt. Right now, this under 5 months is going to be repeated again in Revelation 9. Okay, verse 10. Sorry, Revelation 9, verse 10. Right. Their constant incursions into the Roman territory and frequent assaults on Constantinople itself. So them are the locusts, Islam. Islam, specifically this is actually the Arabian Islam, right? They constantly war against Roman territory and against Constantinople itself. Were unceasing torment throughout the empire, which was yet they were not able to effectually subdue, notwithstanding the long period, afterward more directly alluded to, during which they continued by unremitting attacks grievously to afflict an idolatrous church. So their job is to afflict an idolatrous church, of which the Pope was the head. Their charge was to torment, and then to hurt, but not to kill or utterly destroy, to torment and hurt. The marvel was that they did not. Men were weary of life. So what happened is, eventually people they were actually weary of life. They wanted to die, but they couldn't die. Life was spared only for a renewal of woe, and when all that they accounted sacred was violated, and all that they held dear constantly endangered, and the savage Saracens domineered over them. The Saracens are the Mohammedans, or left them only to a momentary repose, ever liable to be suddenly or violently interrupted, as if by a sting of a scorpion. I like their old English, old English description. Right. Yeah, they were just tortured, but not killed. For 150 years, specifically this idolatrous church, all right, that's symbolized by the strength of the Constantinople, all right. That's the Greek division of the Roman Empire. That's 1/3 of that's why 1/3 of people. So they attack 1/3, right? They torment 1/3 of the Roman Empire. That's the Greek division of it, right? The one that's the furthest east, because the Mohammedans they attack from the east, right? Okay. All right. So 150 years they are tormenting. Okay. And to them it was given that they should. Now this is William Miller. Previously it was Daniel and it was Uriah Smith. Okay. Now this is William Miller. We have to understand what William Miller understanding of the fifth and the sixth trumpet and the first and the second woe. Okay, William Miller says, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, that they should be tormented 5 months, which is 150 years, or 5 times 30. Daniel's mode of reckoning time, whom John had followed, from the 7th to the 11th verses inclusive. John had described the Turkish army their manner of fighting, together with their qualities and name of their leader. One woe is past, and behold, there cometh two woes more hereafter, okay? One woe is past, that's the first woe, and after that is going to be two woes, number 2 and 3. In 1848, these 4 angels were let loose. 1448, sorry. In 1448, these 4 angels were let loose. And the 5th trumpet and the first woe ended, and the 6th trumpet and the second woe began. Okay. So what William Miller is actually saying, and this is crucial to how they actually figured out the ending of the 6th woe, is that the 5th woe, the 5th trumpet and the first woe directly precedes and it's connected, all right? So there's no gap. There's no gap. So when the first woe ends, the second woe begins, all right? There's no gap. That's what William Miller, and he's the first one to actually understand this, and he taught this, all right? Because this is what, people did not understand this before. For an hour, 15 days, for an hour, 15 days and a day, 1 year and a month, 30 years and a year, 360 years, making it all 391 years, 15 days, which added to 1448, the year that the Turks sent out a large army to subdue Constantinople, will bring us down to 1839. So he said this all started in 1848, and it's going to end 1448, and it's going to end in 1839. The problem is that he understood the beginning was the beginning of the Turkish Empire, when the Turkish Empire started to rise up. When the Bible says they torment for 150 years, it's not when they rise up. When they rise up and then they torment. So the torment is the one that starts for 150 years. So he actually was ahead. He started the reckoning a little bit ahead of time, because he said, okay, it was they started in 1448. Okay? All right. This is, you're going to think, okay, well, all right, whatever, does this really matter? It really matters, okay? Because you're going to see what's the difference, all right? So this is the 5th and the 6th trumpet. According to him, they're all connected in the time. They're connected to time. The 5th and the 6th are connected to time, all right? The first woe connects to the second woe, all right? Right there. First woe followed by second woe consecutively, all right? Initially, the 5th trumpet starts in 606. 606 is when Phocas decided that Pope John Paul is going to be the universal bishop. And at that time, Muhammad rises, right? And he goes into a cave and he starts the religion of Islam. 610. But this all started in 606 specifically, right? And remember, there's the wars between the East and the West. The Byzantine Empire and the Sassanid Empire. They were fighting. And it was Heraclius against Chosroe. All right. And in the meantime, Muhammad was watching on the sidelines, waiting and watching until both of them exhausted themselves. And then he's going to come in and he's going to attack, because they both have exhausted their resources, and now he can come in, right? And that is the key to the bottomless pit, right? That is the key of the bottomless pit, all right? Okay. So, July 27, 1299 was the beginning. How did they figure out July 27, 1299? We're going to actually go and figure out how did they decide it was July 27, 1299, right? Even historians today don't even know this. Yeah, they don't realize this, okay? This This year, 150 years from 1299 would be 1449, right? So this is 150 years from here to here is 150 years to 1449. This is the time of the torment, okay? This is where they cannot kill. So what are they doing? What are they being, they're tormenting, but they cannot kill. So in a way, they're actually restrained, right? They want to kill, but they can't kill. So this is their time that they want to kill, but they can't kill. So they're actually being restrained. But here in the second woe, now they're killing. In the second woe, they're killing, okay? Right? Because now they're actually loosed. Here they're restrained, and now they're set loose right here. And then at the end here, they're restrained again. All right? Okay. All right. That's the concept that we got to make sure everybody gets. All right? And over here, they're actually being restrained for 150 years. They can't kill. They can only torment. They're loosed over here, and then they kill. But in the end here, in 1840, they're restrained again. Yeah, they have to give up their power. Okay?
So 1449 is the beginning of the sixth trumpet and the second woe.
That's right. And this is the understanding of William Miller. And William Miller is the first one that actually realized this. Right? And this is the understanding of the pioneers. It became the understanding of the pioneers.
So how did he have 1448 up above?
What happened was that he counted from the year that the Ottoman Empire rose. And then actually Josiah Litch says, no, it's not. Because the Bible says it's not from when they rose. They started, the 150 years starts when they torment. So when they go attack is when, and then William Miller, eventually he said, oh yeah, that's true. Then he agreed. Then he changed his dates. All right. So that's why the dates are different. Okay. All right. You understand that now? Okay. All right.
Because he says 1839.
That's right. Yeah, he was a year ahead. Okay. Now where do we find this? Edward Gibbon. Okay. RC, remember that book? The History of the Decline of the Fall of the Roman Empire. It was on the 27th of July in the year 1299. So July 27, 1299 of the Christian era, that Othman, he was the first emperor. It was the first king of the now the Ottoman Empire, that first invaded the territory of Nicomedia. And the singular accuracy of the date seems to disclose some foresight of the rapid and destructive growth of the monster. This one single accuracy of this date. Now, this is what happens. This quote is quoted by all the pioneers, and quoted by Josiah Litch, and quoted by Uriah Smith, right? And now they says, oh, you only have one witness. You are actually basing your understanding on this one quote. Where's your, how come it does not corroborate with history? They say it does not corroborate with history. And so this is what all the historians that argue against this date says, this is only one. And all the history says it's a different date. All history says it's a different date. Okay, I'm going to show you this. All right, this is Edward Gibbon. Can you see this? This is Syria. This is Turkey now. This is part of the Byzantine Empire. This is Byzantium, which is Constantinople, and this is the Bosporus. Right there. And on the other side of Bosporus is Chalcedon. This is Nicomedia. Nicomedia is right here. This is the one that they attacked. Now, if you look at this, some names are very, very Philadelphia, Sardis, Laodicea right here. Ephesus. All the names of the churches,
In Asia Minor.
yeah,
Mm.
are all right here. All Smyrna, all the churches are all right here. Right? This is a little, I should have gotten a bigger one with a better resolution. But anyway, all these churches are right here. And Antioch is right here. This Antioch. Yeah, that's Antioch. All right, so this is Nicomedia. So they attacked Nicomedia. They're getting very close to Constantinople. Yeah, because this is the capital city, right? They attacked Nicomedia. This is the first place they first attacked, right? And according to Gibbon, is on 27th of July, 1299. And all the pioneers, they use this date, okay? But this date does not corroborate with historians, secular historian dates. Okay, so who are we going to believe? All right. Okay. Now, this is what Uriah Smith said. When did Othman make his first assault on the Greek Empire? According to Gibbon, it was on the 27th of July, 1299. Othman first invaded the territory of Nicomedia, and the singular accuracy, right? Basically, he's just quoting, right? The calculation which follows, founded on the starting point, was made and published in a work entitled Christ's Second Coming by Josiah Litch. So Josiah Litch used this date. It used the date of Edward Gibbon, July 27, 1299. Okay? All right.
There's our second witness.
No, not yet. No, you can't use that because he actually quoting.
No. He predicted.
Right.
40.
What happened is Josiah Litch is actually using Gibbon.
Right, but isn't he the one that said August 11th, 1840?
Right. That's
So
but the problem is that he's actually using that as a starting point to go to 1840. Now we're going to have an even better witness than this, because what happened is Gibbon actually quotes Pachymeres. Pachymeres is a historian, a Greek historian that lived during that time. He lived in 1300, and he wrote 13 volumes of Greek history, right? And he gives this history. It's written in Greek, and it's translated by some German, and he gives the history. He gives the history, and we're going to actually read this because this is so interesting. I can't believe how good this is. Okay, anyway, here we go. We'll just see Josiah Litch in 1838, he predicted, right? Okay, that's what he said here. The year 1448, Amurath, the Turkish Sultan, besieged Korea, one of the strongest cities in Roman Empire. The end of the 5 months which come to the next year, we would naturally look for some great defeat of the Christian emperor's army. Okay, so now he's saying at the end of 150 years, he's attacking. He's still attacking, but cannot kill the Roman Empire, cannot defeat the Roman Empire, defeat the Roman Empire. But what happened is he backed away. But was it so? Far from it. After a long summer siege and a great loss of men, the fall coming on and rain settling in, the Turks raised the siege and retired. So the Turks, the Muslims, they decided to give up. They don't want to attack anymore. In 1448. The empire was now left in peace. One would be almost inclined to think the word of prophecy must now fail. Oh, what happened? Aren't they supposed to now kill? But they actually didn't do anything in 1448. They gave up. But the time came and the word of God was confirmed by the event. So something's going to happen. All right? So what happened at the end of 150 years? Now, we'll go back to the beginning of the 150 years. First, we go to the end of the 150 years. John Palaiologos, the emperor of Constantinople, was dead, and his brother Constantine Diacosis would not venture to ascend the throne without the permission of Amurath. Now they're enemies, okay? But the Constantinople emperor died, and now he has two brothers. They both want to go up on a throne, but what they had to do, he had to actually ask permission from his enemy. What does that mean?
He's under that.
So he's actually submitting his power to the enemy, right? He says, I want to be king, but I have to ask permission from you for me to be king. So what does that mean? I'm actually surrendering my supremacy to you, because now you say, okay, I'm your enemy, but I tell you that you can be king, meaning I am now actually over you, right? He's surrendering his supremacy. He sent ambassadors to ask his consent before he presumed to call himself sovereign. This happened in 1449. So that's the ending of the 150 years. He gave up his power, right? So now the Byzantine was restrained. Now they gain more power now. I mean, not the Byzantine, the Turks. Yeah, the Turks. This shameful proceeding seemed to presage the approaching downfall of the empire. Ducas, the historian, counts John Palaeologus for the last Greek emperor, without doubt, because he did not consider as such a prince who had not dared to reign without the permission of his enemy. Gibbon, an infidel, Edward Gibbon, an infidel, is so struck with the singular accuracy of the record of the origin of this empire that he attributes it to some foresight in the historian of the rapid growth of the monster. So somehow they actually believe Gibbon was so struck with the truth of that date, July 27. Okay, when you read this, you go, so what does that mean? So what does this all mean? Okay, this is John Palaeologos. He was the emperor. He died, and his brother went. Yeah, his name is Constantine Diacosis. This is actually a misspell. Josiah Litch, instead of Diacosis, is actually supposed to be Dracosis. But anyway, Constantine Dracosis, he became emperor only after his enemy Amurath said it's okay for him to become emperor. All right, in 1449. Okay, all right.
At that time, they're not Muslim, yeah? Amurath is already Muslim?
Amurath is Muslim already.
Muslim.
He's a sultan, right?
Why Islam?
Right. Okay. But Byzantine is Rome. Is Catholic. All right. Now here what's happened. This is the modern the theologians, the historians at that time. Baron von Hammer, whose name carries with it the highest authority in Oriental literature and researchers, has lately corrected this singular error of Gibbon. They don't believe in the Gibbon's date, and refers to the very authority of Pachitner, which is Pachimer. Now they use the same source, and they says no, Gibbon's date is actually not 1299. It's actually 1301 is the true date. He refers also to other authorities such as Hadishi Kafa's chronology. Now they're using historians. Now secular historians are saying, oh no, Gibbon is wrong. Gibbon is wrong. Okay. Now if you go to Wikipedia, go to the internet. Yeah, RC?
Wait, why would secular historians argue against something like that?
Yeah, Gibbon and Pachimer. I'm going to show you. It's very interesting. One thing, they actually have a bias, and probably Satan's working on their minds, but also they have a bias. But the other thing is, it's actually quite interesting to read it. So we're actually going to go and read Pachimer's, the Greek historian account of what happened in those days. All right. Now, this is what you'll find if you go and look up the Battle of Baphium or the Battle of Baphius, right? Because Adventists, we believe that it was 1299 that the Turks first invaded the Byzantine Empire, right? But when you go to the internet, the first thing that you're going to find is Wikipedia. The Battle of Baphius occurred on July 27, 1302. Oh no, now it go, wait a minute. I thought it's going to be 1299. How come it's
Now it became 1301 and now 1302.
1302? So who's right? Who is actually right now? Between an Ottoman army under Osman and a Byzantine empire under George Moussalon, the battle ended in a crucial Ottoman victory, cementing the Ottoman state and heralding the final capture of Byzantine Bithynia by Turks. All right, so who's right? Who's correct? Okay, all right. This is, when we're studying like this, I actually started looking and get more information. And this is why the internet is so useful. And I got a lot of information from doctoral thesis of Andrew's MDiv candidates who were doing this, right? And I read through a bunch of them, and some of them were very good. Some of them were, oh boy. Oh, it's on the internet. They publish it. Andrews actually publishes it. Yeah, their dissertations.
So how would you Google, just say Battle of Baptist?
Yeah, you can actually find it. And in there's also in the book and the publication ministry is for the pastors, Adventist pastors. They have the publication called Ministry. A lot of the theology and doctrines of Seventh-day Adventism is actually published there for Adventist pastors. So way back in the 1940s and the 1930s, you can study some of what they actually believed in that time, and they gave an account of history of what actually happened. All right. Okay. This is I'm summarizing all of this for us to study. All right. Okay. Okay. This is what Georgius Pachymeres wrote. Yeah, he lived in 1242 to 1310. He wrote a 13-volume history of the Byzantine Empire. It was translated in Germany in 1835. Corpus Scriptorum Historiae Byzantinae, right? Georgius Pachymeres. Now the thing about it is, if you think about it, he actually lived during that time. So he would be the perfect person to actually go and see what happened, right? He was in Greece. He was a Greek historian. He published at that time, and he lived at that time. Let's see what he actually wrote. Okay. I'm telling you, this is very cool.
And when was it translated?
Sometime 1835, yeah. It was translated, right. Yeah, so Gibbon actually used this source for finding his date, right? This is his source. There's actually other sources, but they're a little bit more obscure, and I had to, oh boy, it's a little tough. But this one is very, very, very easy to understand. The years are not mentioned, but tied by synchronism and astronomical events. So when Pachymeres wrote his history, he did not write what year it was. He just wrote synchronisms. I'm going to tell you what synchronisms mean by doing the example, and astrological events. Astronomical, not astrological. Astronomical events. So what does this mean? I'm going to give you 4 examples that he actually did, and we're going to know, all right, what it means. Okay, the first one. The winter was very severe, delaying emperor trip until the Greek torch ceremony for the dead, which was on Friday, February 6th. All right? So he said, on that year, the winter was very severe, and it delayed the emperor. It was snowing so much that the emperor could not go back to Constantinople. He had to stay. And then the Greek torch ceremony for the dead was on Friday, February 6th. Okay, what does that mean? When somebody says Friday, February 6th, how many, if you have a 10-year cycle, how many of those years will February 6th fall on a Friday? At the most two of those, yeah, because it's every 7 years it's going to be different, right? So if somebody says, okay, Friday is going to be February 6th, you just go back to Google and look up every year that Friday is actually on February 6th, right? And that's what
And you find the date.
and then you know it's actually that year. But because he did not use a year, he just said that Friday is February 6th.
What calendar was he using?
He used the right, yeah, yeah, okay. And then what he did was he gives a synopsis regarding the attack on the Greek garrison at the castle of Baphium. All right. So now then he goes, okay, and he gives the synopsis of how the Turks attacked at Baphium. All right, Baphium. Okay. Now the second thing he wrote, on Tuesday, October 25, John the Patriarch, which is the emperor, returns to official duty. October 25. When you actually look at it back again, it turns out that October 25 is the following in the year 1300. February 6 falls on a Friday in 1299. This is Friday, February 6 is 1299. October 25, he could not go back until the following year because it was so heavy. All right, the winter was so bad, it actually flooded. Everything got flooded at that time, and even the moats of the cities got flooded and ruined, such that the Turks was easy to come in and conquer them. It was so much flooding. All right. Okay. What does this mean? Okay. And then there was a severe drought and impossible to plow or sow for a year and 10 months.
Wow.
And a comet was seen.
These are astronomical.
All right. It was actually Halley's Comet. And Halley's Comet always comes at a certain time, and you can actually calculate it. And you go to NASA's site, and you just go back and say, when was Halley's Comet seen? You just go back all the way back, and it says, oh, here you go. It turns out it is in 1301. It actually says October 25, 1301. So this event here happened in 1299. This happened in 1300. This happened in 1301. In 1301, there was a severe drought for a year and 10 months. They can't even sow or plow, and Halley's Comet was seen in 1301. And then there was a total eclipse of the moon. It's very easy. Just go back to NASA's site and say, when are the total eclipses? The total eclipse actually happened on January 14, 1302. You just go back to NASA. It's very easy. So these are, you cannot refute this, right?
What was the date of Halley's Comet?
October 25, 1301. All right, and then he says, in July came the announcement. It is proclaimed that all Mesopotamia, this is, it's not Baphium, had utterly perished, and that Muzalo was overthrown by the worst defeat of the war.
Is that Asia Minor?
Yeah, that's still in there. Yeah.
Mesopotamia is Asia Minor.
Yeah, that's also part of that area right there, right? Okay, and this is the same general as Muzalo, all right? Right, he was defeated. Okay, he was defeated. But this is the first time it was attacked and defeated. Here is also, and he said it's in July. So he said it's in July. Okay, this is what I actually found. I just copied and pasted from Google here. 1299, the month of February 1299, Friday is February the 6th, right? Let's just go back from Google. And now you cannot refute this. This is synchronism. You don't have to tell the year. You just say Friday, February 6th. It actually is 1299. And then you go look at October 25. October 25, right, is a Tuesday. See, it's Tuesday. This is the year 1300, right? Okay. And that's Halley's Comet. Halley's Comet, right? This happened in 1301, and it was very dry at that time. Okay. Remember, at over here, the attack of Baphium, all right, happened in 1299, and then the eclipse of the moon. This is what the moon looks like during that eclipse. It's still kind of white here, but when it enters into the shadow of the earth, right? This is when it's behind. The sun is here, the earth is here, and the moon is exactly behind it. It becomes red. Remember, just maybe last month? Yeah, a blood moon. And this blood moon it's predicted. You know exactly when it's going to come. It's an astronomical event that it's repeated. Everybody knows when it is and when it happened in the past. You can go back to the Babylonian times. Right? Okay. And then after that, he says in July came the announcement. All right. Without doubt, right here. Without doubt, on the 27th day of the month of July, around Baphium, this place was the well-known Nicomedia. Othman, with his army full of many thousands in number, unexpectedly appearing and suddenly attacking. But it would be better to prolong the account and repeat it somewhat further back from the beginning. Othman suddenly and unexpectedly appears for the attack. We shall omit the prolonged account. After the river Sangres had left its bed for the third time, it had overflowed 3 times. It flooded 3 times, thereby destroying the protective moat around the castle and leaving the garrison of Muzalo exposed to the assaults of the Persians. He wrote that it was July 27. What year could this happen? When it flooded. Okay, you got to go back. You have to go back. What year did it flood? Did it flood in 1299 or did it flood in 1302? It's 1299. It cannot have flooded here because there was a severe drought for a year and 10 months. In 1302, there could not have been a flood because it was still in a drought. So what happened is the historians got this confused because what Pachymeres was alluding to, he was saying, oh, you know what? The time that they attacked was July 27. He didn't say 3 years ago. Oh, he said when it flooded, right? Because 1302, there was no flood in 1302. In 1299, there was a flood in the winter of that year. There was so much flooding, it flooded 3 times, right?
So Josiah, he really thought the Spirit led him to look at.
Yeah, this is Gibbon. Gibbon actually realized this, and he wrote. He was so struck by this, by all this understanding. He says this is incredible, because that day when they attacked Baphium, it was 1299, July 27. That is the date for when they first started attacking. All right. And now what happens when the modern historians, they look at this and they say, oh, it's 1302. They're not very meticulous in their study. Yeah.
But they're still denying that it's
Oh, yeah.
1299?
Yeah. Even if you go back and it says, no, it's 1302. When you actually read Pachymeres, using synchronism and astronomical events is not 1302, it's 1299.
That's just pride.
Yeah, that's true,
Yeah.
right? Because things like this,
That's, I mean, we can understand that.
Isn't everybody so?
but when I studied this, I was just completely, yeah, this was so fascinating to me. This is just incredible. All right.
Boy, you throw that word on.
Okay.
That's the second witness,
Yeah. This is that is the second witness.
yeah.
Right. The second witness. That's the second witness. Yeah. Okay, and it's from history, right? And it's astronaut, Halley's Comet, Blood Moon, you know,
And it was written in the same era.
right. And he actually was alive at that time. Okay.
He was alive, a witness.
All right. So now we go back. Revelation 9, verse 3 to 6. There came out of the smoke locust upon the earth, and unto them was given power. And as the scorpions of the earth have power, it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, or only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, and they should be tormented 5 months. And in their torment was the torment of a scorpion when he has striketh a man, and in those days shall man seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. We're going over this because I wanted to give a summary, because we don't want to get so much information and we kind of lose what actually happened.
Right.
Information overload, okay?
And
All
we
right.
lose sight of what we're really,
What are we actually...
what are we really studying here.
So the locust is multitude of the Muslims, and the scorpions, right? And we understand the scorpions. It's like the locusts. They are scorpions because their sting is in their tail, right? And they actually, because scorpions, they really don't kill you. They just sting you, and it's really painful. They don't kill you. They torment you. And the power is the power to torment for 5 months. Not to kill, not die, and it started on July 27, 1299, and it lasted for 150 years. 5 months, right? Yeah. And that 1299, now you realize it did happen on 1299. And the historians are wrong. I'm sorry, but they're wrong. And commanded them. Who commanded them? Abu Bakr gave the instruction, right? 632. Cleave the heads of those who have shaven crowns, right? Green grass is vegetation. But the trees are the men who have the seal of God and keep the Sabbath and preserve the true Bible. Interpret the Bible correctly, right? According to literal interpretation rather than allegorical. Talking about the Antiochian school. And believe in the subordination of the Son. That's what Lucian believed. And not having the seal of God in their foreheads, those with shaven crowns who persecute the Arians, right? Yeah, okay. So that's our summary. Okay, so we have to now see this on a line. Okay, this is our line. This is our line from now. Okay, at this time. East and West. There was a long drawn-out war between the East and West. When initially it appeared that the West was losing. The key of the bottomless pit is the knowledge that Islam, right? Well, the key of that both sides are going to lose, are going to exhaust their resources, all right? But in 606, the universal bishop was proclaimed by Phocas, right? He proclaimed Pope as the universal bishop. So 606, right? And it is what? The bottomless pit key. Key to the bottomless pit. All right? And it was smoke. And smoke comes out of the bottomless pit. And it is it is a horde of locusts, right? So the East versus the West. Islam was watching a long, drawn-out Cold War between the West, which is United States, and the East, which is United States of Soviet Russia. And they resisted the attack of USSR on Afghanistan when the Mujahideen was being restrained for rebelling against pro-Soviet Afghanistan government that asked for the Soviets to help them, right? Mujahideen was rebelling against the Soviets, but the Soviets has to restrain them, right? So Islam is restrained right there in 1989. This is the first hold, let loose. This is the first hold, 1989. At that time, it is as if the United States had lost. Remember what happened at Vietnam, right? It's as if United States is losing, but actually, Muslim, the Mujahideen was weakening the power of Russia so much that it was not difficult for Ronald Reagan to intimidate Russia with chariots, horsemen, and ships, with the economic power, with the threat of global, what was Star Wars, right? Star Wars. Reagan said, we're gonna blast you from the space. And because of that, the Berlin Wall symbolically was toppled in 1989. This was the time, when Reagan believed that communism was the Antichrist, and he joined with the papacy to topple it. He was Manasseh, right? Manasseh is right there. The Battle of Nineveh, right? 628. And this is the beginning of the fifth trumpet, okay? All right, now the king torments. The king is King Othman. He torments. He torments for 150 years. 150 years is 5 months. 5 months is in the tarrying time right there. 5 months is how long Elizabeth was hiding, right? Elizabeth, remember Elizabeth was pregnant with John the Baptist?
Oh, Elizabeth was, okay.
And John,
I was like,
and right, because we're now looking at this line. How many other lines are showing 150 years or 5 months? Elizabeth was in hiding for 5 months because her husband was dumb and mute at that time, right? At 5, so the 150 days is right here. 5 months is up right here in this time right here, okay? And this is the time that the king is tormenting. Now this is the time of the locust and the scorpions, right? Because it's different. Because now the locusts and scorpions are now tormenting. Before here, it was actually a smoke that was coming out, right? This is the same power, but they have different manifestation now. And this is the understanding of William Miller. He realizes this is the same power, but now it has the ability to torment, okay? So now it changes from a smoke to a locust, right? Okay. This is the difference with William Miller. He's able to understand that. Well, he's given the understanding, and he connects those two woes back to back. Okay, this is the 5 months. Starts on July 27, 1299. All right. And this is the beginning of the first woe. It lines up with the third woe. Third woe starts also here, right? It's Islam is also restrained here because it can't kill. It's tormenting but cannot kill. It's also being restrained, right? Right there. It lines up with 9/11.
So it lines up with third wall as well.
Yeah, it lines up with third woe also. So these lines, well, you can now put this onto this line, right? And we're going to add some more later on. Okay. And the shape of locusts were like unto horses, prepared unto battle, and their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces as faces of men. All right. So basically, we just go from Uriah Smith, and Uriah Smith says the locusts were like horses. The Arabian horse takes the lead throughout the world, and skill and horsemanship is the art and science of Arabia. And the barbed Arabs, swift as locusts and armed like scorpions, ready to dart away in a moment, were ever prepared unto battle. This is how they went into battle. They swarmed. And when they attacked, do they go up to the enemy and then they line up like this? And they go, okay, you're over there, we're over here. Okay, now shoot. Do they go like that? No, they don't go like that. They just swarm, just attack from all over the place. There's as if there's no rules. All right, and they wear a what? A crown like gold is like their turban. And unfurled before them to supply the deficiency of the standard. The turbans of the Saracens like unto a coronet were their ornament and their boast. The rich booty abundantly supplied and frequently renewed them. To assume the turban is proverbially to turn Mussulman. They called Mussulman. And the Arabs were instantly distinguished by the mitres which they wore. Some sort of mitre that they actually, or on their head, no? They actually. Okay. So it's, yeah. So they actually look at this. It almost looks like these locusts look like a horse, right? Okay. And the angel of the Lord said, Genesis 16, 11, and 12. And this is Ishmael, right? Ishmael, he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of his brethren. This is the first description of Islam. And this description is sufficient to describe Islam until the end of time. His hand is against every man, and every man's hand is against him. Is that still applicable now? It is still applicable now. And this wild here is actually a wild ass, which is a horse, right? And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea or any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of living God, and cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till they have sealed the servants. So the winds are being held, so the servants of God can be sealed on their foreheads, right? It is being given to distract the enemies of God, right? Manuscript Releases, Volume 20. Angels are holding the 4 winds, which is represented as the angry horse. So the 4 winds that are being held on the 4 corners, hold, is Islam is being held, right? Until it'll be let loose. It's going to break loose. Okay. Yeah, this is basically reviewed. We've done this many times already. And they had hair as hair of women, and their teeth were the teeth of lions. Okay, we're just going through Revelation 9 here. The long hair, they all had long hair, and it was in a turban. The Arabs, unlike other men, had their hair as the hair of women, or uncut, as their practice is recorded by Pliny and others. But there was nothing effeminate in their character. Ooh. For as denoting their ferocity and strength to devour, their teeth were as the teeth of the lions. Ooh, they were very ferocious, even though they had long hair. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of lion, and the sound of their wings as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. The kuras, or the breastplate, right there, was in use among the Arabs in the days of Muhammad. It's almost like in these days the police use bulletproof vests. They actually wore those vests in the Battle of Uhud, the second which Muhammad fought with the Quraysh of Mecca. Right? The charge of Arab was not like that of the Greeks and Romans. They did not fight like the Greeks and the Romans. The efforts of a firm and compact infantry. The military force was chiefly formed of cavalry and archers. With a touch of the hand, the Arab horses darted away with the swiftness of the wind. Their conquests were marvelous both in rapidity and extent, and their attacks were instantaneous, nor was it less successful against the Romans than the Persians. It was instantaneous. It was a surprise attack. It was like locusts swarming. It doesn't seem like it was organized, but it was very successful.
How frightening that must have been.
Yeah, because these Romans did not know how to fight that kind of fight. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power to hurt men 5 months. There you go. Right? That's 5 months again. Comes back again. The ancient and honorable. Okay, we're getting there. The ancient and honorable. He is the head, and the prophet that teaches lies is the tail. Right? Their prophet stays in the background while their attacks in the front. Right? And they attack instantaneously like swarming locusts. And the 4 angels were loosed, and they were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, and to slay a third part of men. The third part of men is actually the Greek portion of the Roman Empire.
What is an hour, a day, a month, and a year? Is that
300. Yeah, this is 391 years and 15 days. This is the 6th wall, right? But their job was to actually attack the Greek part of the Roman Empire, a third part of men. That's why they're attacking that part. Okay, we're going pretty quick here because we're about to try to end at the 5th woe here. I mean the 5th trumpet. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, and the Greek tongue is Apollyon. And this
symbolize Muslim?
This symbolizes the leadership of the Muslims. And they had a king. Remember, what is the characteristics of the locusts? The locusts have no king. As a matter of fact, the Muslims never had kings. They had caliphs and imams. They never had kings until 639 or what? When they had an Ottoman Empire. Then they had a king, and their first king was Othman, and this Othman is the one that attacked Byzantine. So Othman is Abaddon and Apollyon. Abaddon is in the Hebrew, Apollyon is on the Greek, right? What does that mean? It means that this is actually symbolic. You know, why is this symbolic? Because Abaddon is in the Old Testament and Apollyon is in the New Testament, meaning this is actually symbolic. This is their character until the end of time. They are going to be Abaddon and Apollyon, right? From the beginning till the end. All right. How was that? From the death of Muhammad, right? They never actually had a king until Othman he founded the government or the empire of the Ottoman Empire. And now there has one grand monarchy. Now they have a king or a sultan or a senior supreme caliph, okay? Now, before they did not have one, right? Abaddon in the Greek is actually destroying angel. In the Hebrew, it means destruction. Apollyon means destroyer. So according to Revelation 9:11, Islam's character is always going to be a destroyer until the end of time. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. Death and destruction is the character of Islam. Okay. So that's the ending of the first woe. All right. There is no continuation. We have to eventually go to the second woe at the next session. All right. Okay. All right. Very good.
Matthew,
First Peter is like the one.
Okay. So we'll continue next time with the second woe, and we'll put it together, okay? All right. Very good.